Part IV, Chapter 1 of Short History of the Christian Church by John Fletcher Hurst. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Part IV, The Modern Church in Europe, A.D. 1558 to 1892. Chapter 1 Recuperative Measures of Romanism. The territorial expansion of Protestantism, combined with its rapid organization in various confessional forms, produced great alarm in Rome. Even lands which had been supposed to be firm in their old attachments had become intensely Protestant. There was no criterion by which to determine where or when the moral revolution would cease. The division of the German Protestants into the two great bodies of Lutheran and Reformed did not seriously diminish the aggressive power of the Protestants in the heart of Europe. But there was little thought taken of the propagation of the gospel in heathen lands. Had the Protestants on the Continent adopted measures for the evangelization of heathen countries, especially the East and West Indies, they would have achieved a task which has been left for their successors in the 18th and 19th centuries to undertake. Even meager beginnings would have been an expression of confidence and heroism. The Roman Catholics, in this respect, were controlled by greater wisdom. It is natural, however, that, the work of conquest being so new, the Protestant bodies should think the consolidation of their work at home their most serious work. The Roman Catholics looked, first of all, to a general council as the best measure to arrest the increasing force of Protestantism. But a council was known to be always a dangerous experiment. It was never adopted except as a last resort. It never failed to have two parties, radical and conservative. Still, so serious was the issue that Paul III called one. It met, in 1545, in Trent, a town on one of the eastern Alpine passes between Italy and Germany. The most of the delegates were Italian, and were devoted to the conservative interests of Rome. But the Spanish and French bishops favored reformatory measures. They declared that the Church must take advanced steps and adapt itself to the new needs of the times. The Pope found the council troublesome, and removed it to Bologna in 1547, and dissolved it in 1549. Pius IV, however, convoked it again in 1562, in Trent, and dissolved it in 1563. The result was the condemnation of all Protestant doctrines, and the assumption of an aggressive attitude in every country. The doctrines of purgatory, the invocation of saints, and the worship of images and relics were reaffirmed. At the same time, the council abolished some crying abuses, and brought in disciplinary reforms in regard to sale of indulgences, morals of convents, and education of clergy. In this and other respects the Reformation produced a beneficial effect upon the Roman Catholic Church. There was no disposition on the part of the Roman Catholic Church to withdraw from even the countries whose governments had boldly committed themselves to the Protestant faith. The more devout minds in the Roman Catholic Church looked to the revival of the monastic orders as the most promising source of strength in counteracting Protestantism. The strict rules of the Franciscans were revived in the Capuchin order, founded by Matthew de Bassi. The main object was care of the poor and needy. Ochino of Italy was a Capuchin, but left Romanism and became a celebrated Protestant. The Carmelites were revived by Teresa of Spain. They devoted their attention principally to humane labors and the instruction of the young. The Cistercians were organized by Jean de Barrière. Neither these nor the restored old orders had any bearing on foreign missions, but were limited to the home field. The Theatines were founded by Gaetano de Thiene. Their chief objects were the care of the sick and criminals, and the education of the clergy. Preaching was an important factor in their work. The Angelicas, founded by the Countess of Guastalla, devoted themselves chiefly to women. The priests of the Oratory, organized by Philip de Neri, were learned men, for the most part, and devoted themselves to Biblical studies. The Barnabites were so called from the Church of St. Barnabas of Milan, which was given to them. The order was founded by Antonio Maria Saccaria. The Ursulines, a female order established by Angela of Brescia, applied themselves to the education of young women and to sufferers. The Brothers of Mercy were organized by John de Dio, a Portuguese. They devoted their attention to the poor and the sick. All these orders arose about the same time, during the former half of the 16th century. All Europe was covered by a new monastic network. No class of sufferers was overlooked. The hut and the palace were alike visited. This multiplication of societies of mercy and instruction showed the wonderful religious power which still lived in the old Church. These energies seemed to be stimulated rather than weakened by the great Protestant defection. End of chapter 1.